Good morning. I'm just going to step a little bit further away from the camera. Good morning. It is today, January. Help me out. Oh my goodness. Do I not even know the date? 26th. January 26th, 2022. And this is today's chapter reading. Last week we left off when Barry got a new job in Salmon Arm, and I had packed up all of my son's stuff and left. So we're going to be here together for just under 15 minutes, just enough time for a coffee break. If you're watching the replay, thank you, and you matter, and your comments matter, and please be sure to go ahead and comment below for discussion, or if you feel like it's more of a private note, you can send me a private message. I really, one of my favorite things is hearing from you and really broadening these discussions. So chapter 1 in the book is called The Ugly Side of Weight Loss. And like I said before, last week, when I was stepping into this new identity by moving to a new place, Barry got a job in Salmon Arm. He was my boyfriend at the time, and we had been seeing each other for about a year, and he got a job, so I packed up my son's stuff and made that decision that I was going to go. At the time, I had really been grappling with this new identity I had with this new smaller body and the way everybody treated me. I had become a little bit obsessive over what the scale said, so that's a great place to pick it up. Is there was something else I was leaving behind. I was leaving behind my previous identity as what I felt was at the time the fat girl that lost a ton of weight that everybody was just kind of watching to see, like, when is she going to gain it all back? And that haunted me. And so I felt like I was also leaving that old identity, and I could step into a new place just as me, as Karen Wilson, as Barry Wilson's girlfriend with the family and whatnot. So without further ado, let's pick up in part 2 of chapter 1, The Ugly Side of Weight Loss. So there was something else I was leaving behind. It was the bathroom scale, for one, and every stitching of what I called my fat clothes. The biggest thing I was leaving was my identity. Up until that point, I had been known for being the fat girl that lost a ton of weight. I was plagued with questions of how I did it, how much more I was going to lose. I was also terrified to gain it all back and prove them right, or that I was not good enough, that I was meant to be fat all my life and I didn't deserve this new confidence and joy. So I left all of that behind in Prince George, and when I started my new life with Barry and the kids in Salmon Arm, I was excited to be in a new community with a new perspective. We were a family. I was not a failure of a person that yo-yoed through life struggling with self, men, and getting a job after throwing my education away to chase a love affair that turned sour. I was not the laughing stock anymore. I was just Karen. After about 6 months, I grew lonely and homesick. It was so refreshing to be the lean girl and the fit girl. I was happy to not be having compliments and questions and comments all the time, but I was also beginning to miss my validation. It had been the single most accomplished thing I had done in my lifetime. No trainer, no supplements, no bullshit fat blasters, just me and a Woman's Day magazine. Because I was missing the scale, though, the compliments and the validation from others, I began to re-obsess about the way I looked. And I tried to validate myself. I gained a little bit of weight back, about 8 pounds, but I was no longer starving and filling in my hunger with a smoke and a Diet Pepsi. I was still wearing the same clothes, so I felt, this is going to be okay, but not okay. At 33, my new doctor told me that I had to choose between birth control pills or smoking, or I may just end up having a stroke one day. Are you freaking kidding me? As if you can control my life that way. Are you serious? Really? Serious? This began a thought process. Okay, my thought process was, I began thinking about the running I had been doing on the treadmill at the gym. People always looked at me when I was doing high intensity workouts. I've never been much of a light-footed person, and I thumped pretty loud and worked very hard when I was doing my sprints on the treadmill. So I'd get comments like, "Whoa, you're making me feel lazy. You are tiring me by looking at you." And my favorite one, "Good for you. You are working hard today. But it's a gym, for crying out loud. What else are we supposed to be doing there?" It was the first gym I had ever been to in my entire life. Now I know why I prefer to get it done at home. And on the pavement, of course. I'm not here to socialize and look pretty. I thought, this is what I have to do for my maintenance, to stay on top of it. So I began thinking about my experience at the gym, and I visualized myself like having a stroke during one of my high intensity drills, and thinking of how embarrassed it would feel. Shit. I need to work out that hard to keep this body. I don't want any more babies, and neither did Barry at the time. And really, what am I putting into my body? They must really both be bad for me. I don't know what to choose. If I quit smoking, I know I will gain weight. I've read that a million times over, and I really don't want to gain weight. If I quit the pill, I really don't want other forms of birth control. I don't remember life as a non-smoker. At the same time, I had this new job as a cosmetician. And in our new community, it felt like there was way less smokers. Where I came from, if you didn't smoke, you were an outsider. Now it felt like the opposite. I was beginning to feel self-conscious of smelling like smoke and being judged, especially getting close to people during makeovers. I decided that one day that both were poisonous. I went back to the doctor and got set up to have a tubal ligation. Barry and I discussed it, and we decided that we were going to quit smoking together. Our date was September 1st, and it was August 1st at the time. So I had a month to smoke my brains out and prepare myself. My tubal ligation was set for mid-September. I was prepared to quit the pill and smoking and get this procedure done within the space of 6 weeks. That's the way I roll. I go all in. During that time, I researched all the aids in quitting, and I decided I didn't want to be dependent on another thing. I have to quit. I embraced the ugly again and went cold turkey. It was my fear of gaining weight back that drove me to the decision. I wanted to be able to work out hard for my entire life, more than I wanted to smoke. I had to accept that my body would be in shock, and it was. Every minute I am a non-smoker, I celebrate myself still. My workout sessions at the gym that first week were even more intense than ever with the increased oxygen flow in my blood. Many tears were shed, but after my first week as a non-smoker, I knew there would be a second. It was apple season, and while Barry learned to play guitar with his hands to keep them busy, I learned how to make a mean apple crisp. I ate a lot that first month, but it was mostly healthful foods and a lot of crunchy things, foods that took a long time to eat. I was surprised at how foggy my head felt and how forgetful I was. Just trying to leave the house sometimes was a struggle. I needed all my coping mechanisms. Whenever we had somewhere to go, my son Jake, who was 10 at the time, clued into how I was feeling. He began to gather everything he saw me needing. Mom, I have your sugar-free suckers. They had to be sugar-free. A water bottle, keys, and squeezy ball. You know, one of those like stress balls. Let's go. I made it. I became a non-smoker on September 1st, 2006, cold turkey. And never looked back. Barry did too. but I gained 20 pounds within 30 days. When they weighed me for my surgery, it was a 10-pound gain in 2 weeks. I rewarded myself with a new wardrobe because nothing fit anymore. I ordered a larger cosmetics uniform, so at least I didn't feel like I was squeezed sausage when I went to work every day. Bittersweet whispers. Hey, I'm fat, but I'm a non-smoker. I was free. I didn't remember what that was like, to be free, to not be tied to needing a cigarette, and enjoying all the free time that was created. The weight gain was a struggle. I began asking myself what I could do to just feel a bit better about myself, to nurture myself in a way to be proud. I had just climbed another mountain that I had never imagined I would do, took another step into a healthier version of me. The nice thing about gaining weight is that nobody tells you in the same way as losing it. Nobody ran up to me and said, "Wow, you look amazing. I see you are about 2 sizes bigger. What did you do? Gain about 20?" It was just me. I felt like I couldn't let myself feel hunger because that was a massive trigger to want to smoke, since I used smoking to stave off hunger for so many years. So more carrots and apples I ate. Within a year, Barry and I managed to save enough money to put a down payment on the house we live in now, and we decided to let our gym membership go, which terrified me. We needed the extra money to cover the new homeowner costs. I knew I needed to exercise, and I knew walking worked before, but I felt guilty for wanting to take time for myself with work, the kids, and their activities. We had so much on our plate. I proposed we get a dog. I would take the dog walking responsibility. I didn't want a dog just to have a dog. I wanted a dog to ease my guilt. I'd be doing something for the family, not me, so it was perfect, you see. Mother's Day was celebrated by putting in a fence on our half-acre lot. 1 week later, we brought 2-year-old Whiskey home from the SPCA. I could write a book on our dog adventures alone. I had my walking buddy, I had my hall class, I had my release of guilt. That's where we're going to end this week's reading. That's about time, we had a little coffee break. I just wanted to finish a little bit on a note of, reminding that there is the ups and downs of wellness, and the voices in our head, what we tell ourselves, really do matter to our mental wellness and our mental health. There's also this perception of who we are attached to what we can do, or attached to other people's perceptions of what we might be. Like, people always mean well when they give compliments, but sometimes the compliments are not feeding the right mindset. They're not feeding the right headspace. And in my case, that was true. And it doesn't matter, what you're recovering from and what you're going through, or what you're quitting, or how you're moving through a new identity. Those things stay true and stay the same. It's about the perception of how you feel about yourself, and being aware that people are always going to have their own perception of you. And then finally, the other thing to talk about for this week and to think about and journal on is the release of the guilt. So I just left on a note. We're going to pick up next week on the next part of chapter 1. But one of the things that I really was feeling was that guiltiness for self-care. And my challenge for you this week is to journal down everything that makes you feel like it's self-care. Self-care is different for everybody. And it's my firm belief that you need to show your body ways that you like it in order to love yourself. That's the whole principle behind the Be Weightless blueprint and book. And so what are the things that make you feel like you're being kind to yourself? And that's your journal assignment for this week. Thank you for joining me for part 2 of the chapter 1 book reading of Be Weightless. And I'll see you next week at the same time and the same channel. Bye for now.